Hey folks, welcome, and we're going to be doing a grabber component deep dive in this tutorial. So as you could see in this demo, comes from the demo project that's uploaded in GitHub. So if you don't have a copy of it, just grab it from our GitHub repo. You could see it from the description in this YouTube video. So you could see here I'm doing a simple distance grab. We're going to be doing that, and a push and pull mechanics. I'm going to walk you through how to do it, as well as explain in detail what the grab component can do and what the other variables are. So let's have a closer look at this grabber component. We're going to be using the demo level or demo map that we've been using for the past couple of tutorials. And let me just open that up now, and the pawn. Okay, so we've got the teleport mechanic still here from the last tutorial, and we've been using the left motion controller thus far. For this tutorial, let's use the right motion controller then for most of the grabbing mechanics, okay? And before I go any further, I'd just like to quickly note that for version 2.2 of the plugin, you should have this copy is actually now compatible with both the Vive and the Oculus Touch. So for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm using the Vive headset. And if you look at here, I'm using the Vive controllers for the static meshes. Of course, you could use your own static mesh, such as the Oculus. If you have an Oculus Touch static mesh or a skeletal mesh of a hand, you could of course freely use it here. Or you could use the meshes that's available with the demo project up in GitHub. Okay, so I've got a alien hand there that you could use if you want to. All right, so let's get on with it, I guess. Let's go to the event graph. First thing is, of course, you would need to add the grabber component. So I'm just gonna add the grabber there, and I'm gonna attach it to the motion controller, not the static mesh. Unlike what we're doing with the teleporter. So with the teleporter, you attach it to the static mesh or the skeletal mesh, but with the grabber component, we're going to attach it directly to the motion controller, so as you could see here. All right, so let's compile and save that. Let's grab it here, and there are two basic nodes that we need. So we've got the grab, of course, and we've also got the release function. All right, so one node grabs the an object in our scene or in our level, and of course releases that. Okay, and let's use the motion controller as the input. Motion controller right trigger. If I can find it, there it is. Yep. So motion controller right trigger, grab, and then release. And that's pretty much the basic stuff. Let's have a look. Let's just have a closer look at this grab node here, as you have a lot of parameters that you could use. First is you've got the reach. So this tells you that from the origin of your motion controller, where the origin position of your motion controller, you're gonna get the like a reach. This is how far from the motion controller you could grab something. And the scan only will manually attach is actually a Boolean field. If you tick this, what it will do is it will just check if the actor is grabbed, or if an actor in the scene is grabbed, and if it is, it just returns the actor here. So then you could do your own attachment. This is how I did the alien hand in where I was grabbing the sword. Because it's a skeletal mesh, I wanted it to attach to a particular bone. So I was doing it through this. So I was just doing a scan and then attaching it manually. If you want to do, of course, the automatic attach, you could do, sorry, you could just change the grab mode here, leave this to false, and then the grab mode you could choose from several options, as you could see here on the screen. So we've got the precision grab. What the precision grab does is it grabs if you grab an object, it will grab it at a specific place of that object or that mesh. So, and as opposed to a snap to mesh origin grab, so the snap to mesh origin grab, what it does is once you grab an object, it just goes to, it grabs the object and then moves it, snaps it to the origin of the mesh. So it's like you're grabbing it from the center of that mesh. So you could have also a locked rotation grab. So what that does is if you grab something in the scene, the actor would not rotate as you rotate the motion controller. And the other one is precision grab and dangle. So you do basically what a precision grab does, but it allows the object to dangle from the grab point. Okay, so yeah, so kind of like imagine you're grabbing an ornament for a Christmas tree, and then you're moving it around. So kind of like that. That's the behavior that you would get from precision grab and dangle. So the last one is precision grab with locked rotation. So it's a combination of the precision grab and locking in the locked rotation grab. So you could precisely grab an object anywhere in the mesh and lock the rotation as well. So just a couple of options for you there to choose from. For this demo, let's keep it simple. I'm gonna do because we have a very simple static mesh here, which is a Steam controller. And to make it look right, you normally have to choose between precision. Precision grab works well with skeletal meshes, for example, like you would see how I did the grabbing mechanic for the main menu of the demo project, where you need to grab the level spheres, so it looks right because of the mesh. For this one, just because of the origin of the mesh for the Vive, I'm gonna use what am I gonna use? A snap to mesh origin grab. So it's so that I can do a distance grab. Okay, so let's increase the reach to maybe 100 units. All right, so I'm gonna have a reach of 100. So it's gonna be a distance grab, and I'm gonna lock, snap that mesh to the to origin once I grab it, so that at least it's when you're doing for this tutorial, you could easily see the effect of the grab. Okay, and I'm gonna show the debug line. So the show debug line shows a red debug line, so you could see for reach mechanics, for a grab reach, you could see how far or where the grabbing is supposed to take place. Okay, so it's kind of like a laser pointer type of thing. Alright, so I kind of skipped on the other parameters, so let me just get back to it. So the tag name, so leave it as none if you want to be able to grab all objects, and I'm going to explain in a while how you're going to make an object grabbable. So just leave it as none. Otherwise, this tag name should be the tag in the physics handle component of the grabbable object. And then what it will do is if you have something here, it will only grab objects if they have that specific tag in the physics handle component. Okay, the rotation offset, I'm going to explain the physics handle component in a while. The rotation offset is an additional rotation that you could add once you've grabbed an object. So if you're doing a locked rotation grab, and if you want to kind of move it a little bit, you know, like by 45 degrees somewhere in any of these axes, you could just add it from here if you want to. So it just gives you a little bit more flexibility for your mechanics. So we also have retain object rotation, which is on by default. So what that does is if you grab something and it's, you know, rotated away from you, it will keep that rotation, its original rotation. If I uncheck this, it will do a snap to mesh, or if it does a snap to mesh origin, it will snap mesh, and then of course won't retain the object rotation as well, so it won't keep it, so it will just set everything to 0, 0, 0. Okay, and retain distance is if you're doing a reach grab and then you want to retain the distance. For example, I've grabbed something from the, if I grab, my distance here is 100, and if I grabbed it and it's really close to me, then if I tick this, that means it will retain that distance from where I grabbed it, If I don't, what happens is if I grab something in a distance grab, what it would do is it will grab it and then kind of push it to that maximum distance that you see here, or your maximum reach. So I guess for this grab distance that we're going to be doing for this demo, I'm just going to want to tick that, and I'm going to want to have the show debug line there. All right. So that's the whole thing for the grab node. The release node is a lot simpler, of course, because basically what it does is it releases the object that's grabbed here. And I may have forgotten to note that you need to have different grabbers, obviously, for the left and right motion controllers. Okay. So while I'm here, let's have a quick look at the available parameters. So most of the parameters here that you could see are related to the grab sun mechanic. So I won't go into too much detail about these on this video. So just to keep this tutorial light, we'll have a separate video tutorial for the grab sun mechanic. The grab sun mechanic is you can grab the sun and then cycle day and night for your scene while grabbing the sun across the horizon. So it's a pretty cool effect. And we're going to be tackling that on a separate tutorial. Okay. If you want to really start using it, you could just have a look at the demo map on under 4_grab. I've added that into the on the map there, on the 4_grab and 4_grab_VR pawn. So I've added the code for that, a sample code for that. Okay, on how to make it work. All right. So, and that's pretty much it for setting up the actual mechanic. Let's now look at this scene, and let's choose something that we could use to grab at a distance. Maybe this pyramid here. Okay, so a static mesh actor is fine. So, but we need to add a component to it to make sure that it's grabbable. So I'm gonna convert this static mesh actor to, or add a blueprint to it. So I'm going to make it a blueprint actor and just make sure I'm going to put it on the correct directory there. Okay, so pyramid blueprint. All right, so I've got this pyramid blueprint now. I edit it. If you don't see this view, just click on open full blueprint editor, and then you should be in this view. As you can see, this is the name of the actor, and attached to it automatically the static mesh component. All right, so one of our users from, or viewers, sorry, from the YouTube channel noted that you need to have the static mesh component as a root component, which is true. So thanks Lagiluk for reminding me of that. So that means if you have your own custom actor, and I think I made one earlier. So here, you need to make sure, because when you create a new actor or a different blueprint, your root component might be a scene component by default. So let me just do that quickly. So at least you know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to create a blueprint class. I'm going to create a blank actor. So I'm going to name that new blueprint 2. As you can see, the default scene root. So this won't be grabbable even if you add a static mesh component like this and define a static mesh such as that cylinder. All right. So this won't be grabbable. So let's get back to the pyramid. So see the difference between the two? So you've got this scene root, and the scene root has a static mesh. What you need to have for the grabbable component is you need to have the root component as either a static mesh or a skeletal mesh. As long as it's a mesh, then it would work. It has something to do with the collision checks and the physics object checks that I'm using on the code behind. So to make this, the final step is, since we already have for a static mesh actor or a skeletal mesh actor, by default we have the static mesh component as the root component. We're going to add the physics handle component. That's the last step to make sure that it's a grabbable component. So your actor should look something similar like this. You have the physics handle and you've got the root component as a mesh component. Sorry, either static mesh or a skeletal mesh. Okay. So since we don't have a, if you look at the event graph, we didn't put anything on the tag name. I'm not gonna add a tag here for the component. So I'm not gonna add a tag here. That means I can basically grab anything in the scene which has a mesh component as a root component and has a physics handle on it. And another thing, before I forget, is that the static mesh component should simulate physics. So for this blueprint, for example, let's have the one that we made. It doesn't have simulate physics on, so we're just going to tick that, simulate physics. And remember what we need to add? So it's, if I haven't lost you yet, so we need to add the physics handle, right? So we add the physics handle. And what's wrong with this one? Well, we could see that the default scene root is there. So the root component of this new blueprint that we created is actually a scene component, not a mesh component. So we need to drag this. So just grab one and drag it, and then there you have it. So now it's the root component. Okay, so now this should be grabbable as well. All right, and that's how to set up a grabbable object. So let's bring that to the scene so that we could try to grab them both. So we're gonna try to grab this and this in the demo. All right, so let's give this baby a whirl. All right, so using the right motion controller, I'm grabbing this cylinder here, rotating it a little bit, and fling it. Let's try the pyramid this time. I need to get closer. And yep, grab, twist, 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 have a play. See that it's grabbed it properly, even if we try to fling it. Ooh, cool. Alright, so now let's have a look again. So we've got the grab and release. Obviously for, as I mentioned earlier, depending on the look of your mesh, how you want the interaction to be, you need to change the grab mode and change a lot of these settings, such as the reach. I would highly suggest to always turn on debug line when you're trying to pin down the grab interaction mechanic for your game or your experience, as it would help a lot. So the grab node is really flexible, so you could do a lot with it. And so it could do most of the basic VR grab interactions, and even of course the more advanced ones, by just tweaking a lot of these parameters that I have made available for you, and especially the grab mode. So each of them has specific use cases, and some of them may not look right if you try to use them by default without a proper the look of your mesh not being quite right for that mechanic. So you need to just have a play and just have a quick look at what each one does. It's very visual with VR development. Sometimes you just have to put on the headset and to see the actual effect of each of the grab modes. Of course, I could explain the exact core functions of each one, but it's sometimes faster for you to understand it if you just go grab your headset, have a play. So similar to what you normally do with your normal development, where you click play with the editor, and just to have a look at how things are shaping up, especially with this kind of with VR. This is probably one of the, it's simple, but it's probably one of the more fiddly ones that you would do when doing a VR game or VR mechanic. If, for example, you really want fine-tuned control and you just want to be able to grab objects or to selectively grab objects, and that means you only want to be able to know the tag name and the, I guess the scan only will manually attach. So you do this and then put a tag so that you could tag individual components in your scene. Then you would then use this return actor reference to attach the actor to your component or your skeletal mesh even, so that you, and and then attach it to specific bones of your skeletal mesh, so then you have more fine-tuned control. You can also do that. That's why I've made this return value here available for you. So really completely flexible, and it's up to you how you want to do your mechanic. Okay. All right. So in the future tutorials, I'll do specific use cases, so such as for the teleport, for the grab, so things that you're familiar with, because I've been getting questions in the YouTube channel on also on private email, how to do specific stuff that they've seen in other games. So I'm gonna do a series of that. I just wanted to go through all of the basic, all of the components, and then just explain a little bit of them in a deep dive like this, and then I'll go on to specific use cases. So send me your requests, and then I'll show you how to do or copy the mechanics that you've seen in other games using the plugin. All right. Yep. But please be patient with me as well when I'm doing the videos, because this is something I just do on my spare time, and it's something I try to do at least once a week, but I might not be able to release weekly depending on personal commitments, so just so you know. All right. Yep. So let's just add one more thing here. Something interesting is I thought about it, so kind of like a Jedi Knight thing that you can grab, like this thing from afar. And of course, one of the Jedi things is as well, you could push and pull things. So how do you do that with this plugin? All right, so I'm just going to do this, and you have a node called Let's Do Push. It's a bit more cooler to look at. Push, and let's use the motion controller, right? Motion controller, right? I'll type in input at the beginning, just so that I get this motion controller. So input motion controller, right? I'll do face button 1. So face button 1, because I'm using Vive as a headset here, so I'm using the face button 1, which maps to the up button in the thumbstick, or sorry, in the trackpad of the Vive. Okay. So I'm gonna push while it's pressed, and I'm gonna stop pushing. Once I release. So I'm just going to remove that extra node there. Okay. Well, it looks nice and clean. All right, so push speed. Let's make it a little bit faster than 1. Let's do 8. And minimum distance, it's fine. The maximum distance is a bit too low, 20. So let's increase that to 2,000. Well, let's do 20,000. So that's how far I could push the object, just so that you could see the effect of it. So earlier I'd just been flinging things around. This time we're gonna be have a little bit more finesse with it by just doing a push mechanic. All right, so let's give this a go. Alright, so I'm just going to grab this pyramid here and push it through this arc here. Awesome. Alright, so that's for the grabbing and the pushing, sorry. And let's try to do the pull mechanic. So it's pretty much the same thing, except let me just duplicate this, alright. Instead of push, we're going to do pull. Pull grabbed object, and we're gonna stop pulling the grab object. Okay. So pretty much self-explanatory, but sometimes you need to play around with it and have a go, especially with the speed here and the minimum maximum distance, until you get it right, at least for your game or VR experience that you're creating. I don't want it to come too near me, so I'm just maybe up to maybe 25. Yep, and the maximum distance, well, I guess it's pull, doesn't matter, but let me just put it the same distance as the other one, as the push. And that's it. And when does this happen? So we've got face button 1. I'm going to use face button 3. So input motion controller. Yep. Face button 3. There you go. And so pressed and released. And that's it. So let's try this out. Alright, so let me just grab this pyramid here again and push it again towards this arc here. Topple that over and oops, don't want to topple that yet. Push it out and behind and pull using the down button. Cool. And that's it for now, folks. We've gone through the push and pull mechanic, and we've also done of course, the grab and release, and we've gone through a lot of all of these parameters here, what they do, and it's up to you now to have a play with it and try different meshes, try different grab modes, even try to do the scan only, try to put the tag. Just remember for the tag, key thing is that the tag has to be in the physics handle component of the grabbable object. So to make a grabbable object, as we've discussed, you need to have a physics handle. Let's use this one. So you'll have a physics handle, and you need to have the root component as the static mesh component for it to work. All right, so those two. And if you want to make it selective on the physics handle, you need to add the component tag. Okay. So let me just quickly do that. And so remember, I can grab the cylinder, right? So I can do that. So make it grabbable. Compile and save. So here we used to be able to grab both the pyramid and the cylinder here, right? This time I'm gonna be more selective, and I would only be able to grab the pyramid because the pyramid in the physics handle has a grabbable component tag. Alright, so let's change this tag name to, what did I use? Grabbable. Yep, so grabbable, compile and save and try. So if I try to grab the cylinder here now, I won't be able to. And if I try the pyramid, I should be able to because it has that component tag that we just created. Okay, so you see how easy that was to do, alright? To make a selective grab. And another thing to note, important thing to note that we've discussed in this tutorial is if you really want fine-tuned control and you just want to do selective grabs, you could use that tag that we just did and the scan only. So that doesn't actually do a grab for you, but it's a valid grabbable object. That means if it has a valid tag and and it has a physics handle component with the static mesh or skeletal mesh component as a root component of the actor. Alright, and then with this actor, then you can do pretty much what you want. Attach it to a bone in a skeletal mesh for your motion controllers. So yeah, so a sample code for that, if I'm confusing you, is here in 4_grab under maps. There's 4_grab_VR pawn. So this is how I use the grabbing. Okay. So with the grab sword mechanic, you notice it neatly aligns with the mesh. I'm grabbing it, I'm scanning only with a manual attach, and I'm not using a tag here. And I'm doing a sanity check here just to make sure that the thing doesn't crash when you grab something. So if it's valid and if it's true, I check if it's a sword, and if it's a sword, and then I attach it to the attach the component and snap to target and place a socket name. So I created a socket with that with my skeletal mesh here. Let me just see if I could show you the skeletal mesh. Yep. Oh, sorry. Yep. So you could see that in this skeletal mesh, it's a alien hand, and I created a palm socket in one of the bones there in the skeletal mesh so that it neatly attaches to that. Okay, so that's something you could copy for your game if you want a little bit more fine-tuned control, or you want to be able to do some more advanced interaction. Okay, So, and that's it. I hope you enjoyed that. And any questions, just let me know in the forums or in the YouTube videos or in GitHub. So there's a couple of ways you could get in touch with me, and also via email from the UE Marketplace. All right, and any questions? Yep, as I mentioned, just let me know, and have fun, and see you on the next video.